inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's going on, audience? Yes, I know this is not the typical day to release a podcast, but I've been a little MIA, and I haven't done that in the life of the podcast. We've been going strong since 2017, but a lot transpired in my personal life. And as much as I wanted to be there, the things that weren't absolutely necessary for my business to function, I had a little season where I had to let that go. And rather than, rise like a phoenix and just come back in like this total boss, I am here to share with you what happened to me, some things that, some mindset revelations that I've had, and I'm going to share some really personal stuff with you guys, and I may get into a little bit of a rant, and you'll understand why as I'm going along. Now, I'm going to also just put this disclaimer out there. Everything that I'm about to share, I am in a place of peace. So, don't, send me your condolences and, all of that stuff in a spirit of, oh my God, she's saying she's okay, but is she really okay? Versus, sending, your love and your respect. And so that already lets you know that I've had to deal with some death. And we know that with death, we can either think that it's over, or we can get excited and know that it isn't. And that's whether you believe in reincarnation, the resurrection, and so many other scientific truths, that death is not the end, but often it is the beginning. So what a lot of you all didn't know on the podcast, unless you also happen to be a follower on social media, is that yours truly, I found out that I was pregnant in June, and I was really, really excited and moving forward and going to hire a midwife and do some amazing things. Well, unfortunately, what most of you don't know, unless you're in my more intimate entrepreneurial circle, is that I lost that baby. And I've never experienced anything like it. And because I was at 14 weeks, I had no idea what a miscarriage felt like. I've heard a lot of people say that it's like a really bad period, but for me, it was like full-blown labor. And I remember sitting in my bathtub and basically a pool of blood. I lost so much blood in one day that I lost 6 pounds. And so, but that wasn't the worst part of it. Prior to that, a few days before the miscarriage. For those of you all who remember Kiki Cornelius, she's been a guest on this podcast several times. She's been a speaker in several of my summits, and she was a very good friend to me. And unfortunately, she passed. And she passed a few days before, and it really, really jacked me up because I was so excited to connect with her about her TV show that she had launched. I had recorded a segment with her. I had just reached out to her saying, girl, you know I'm doing my summit, but you at the top of my mind, and I'm going to be binging the episodes that came out as soon as I finish, going through this whole big deal. And just like nowhere like that, poof, she was gone. And it really, really took me back in many different ways. And I want to talk to you about how these two things like really totally jacked me up. And they affected how I was showing up in business. Those of you that are newer to this podcast, if you haven't figured it out yet, just from the intro alone, we talk about life. Because what's happening with us personally and spiritually impacts us professionally. And we have to talk about everything because everything is connected. And so my belief for a second was completely shattered, you guys. For 2 seconds, I was questioning what I was doing, why I was doing it. And the devil, will say, really dipped into my psyche and was really trying to convince me that I should be afraid of making large claims to want to be an influencer, a leader, and an inspirer. See, I'm going to talk to you guys. Listen to me. I'm sharing some very intimate stuff with you guys because most people just tell you, do the mindset work, do the tapping, do this. And, you're still wrestling with your inner thoughts. And you don't want to tell people because you think some of the most insane shit. But our minds, there's so many of us, we really do think insane things. And so Kiki Cornelius was a mover. She was a shaker. She was a doer. And it's so funny because we had someone in common, someone that I did not like at all. And people that were connected to her, I was like, you are the company you keep. I don't even want anything to do with you. But I knew that there was something different about Kiki. And I was like, you know what? She has to come to her own revelations about this person in her own time. Maybe her experience has been drastically different and she will never see it. But I'm going to still keep her in my life. And that's not my MO. Because when I find out people are shady or dirty or crooked, I just don't fuck with them. I get them out of my life and I don't want anything that's connected to them because I protect my energy. Well, like I said, with Kiki, it was something different and I knew that she was supposed to be in my life. I remember one time she did a podcast recording with me and she was so nervous, but she couldn't help it, like word vomit. She was like, why can't I say in my lifetime that I can put $1 billion towards the cause that God has put on my heart? She worked very, very hard for relief for displaced veterans. She was building a tiny house. It was not a project just so she could have a tiny house. She was going to have a whole lot of tiny houses for veterans. And, she was a very authentic business coach. She wasn't giving you the cookie cutter 6 steps for 6 figures. She believed in intimacy. She connected with her audience and her clients. And you knew she did because of the way that they responded to her. And our values were very similar in that manner. And so, the short version, without getting into all the details, is it like really jacked me up that such a great person who was always smiling, you knew that her word was freedom, had her life taken away. And to not even know what happened, it totally just took me back. It was like I tried to call her phone. I sent a text message, put her husband's name in big capital letters, which he did end up responding. And, thinking to myself, please, could this possibly be a joke? And my spirit hasn't been rattled by death since my grandmother at the end of 2018. And so I was like, yeah, August, you got these big claims too. You shared a lot of great shit with Kiki. And it's kind of like, well, what if you don't make it? You're saying you're going to do all this stuff and, and it wasn't just her. I think about other beautiful people that we've lost. And it's like, why does it seem like in the most chaotic season of this world that we live in for my time, my lifespan, we're losing some great people? I'm not talking about police brutality. I'm talking about they're just dying. And so that shook me to my core. But before I could process all of the emotions that I was dealing with, I lost Nehemiah. And that right there was already a statement of faith, believing that I was going to have my baby. It's like, look at you. You went out there on social media. You did say that, you wouldn't take, the stuff that the doctor gave you, because my physician did tell me that I had no fetal heartbeat when I was at 9 weeks. But I've dealt with that before with my 7-year-old. Some of you guys are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like I said, you have to be in closer inner circles with me, following me on social media. But I went through that with my 7-year-old. And so I just wasn't going to sit here and believe because a doctor gave one report and didn't even take the time to thoroughly explain things to me. Bedside manner wasn't necessarily the best. And I said, I'm going to keep on going. Well, a little tiny bit that you all don't know is that prior to getting pregnant, I was going on a health journey, and I was working with a health coach that had me taking all kind of supplements. And even though I had stopped working with her, I was still staying very disciplined and very regimented. And so when I lost the baby, I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? And for those of you that know the stages of grief and what that looks like, you know what you do. And, I was like, what in the world is going on? Because I had made it to 14 weeks. And I realized that one of the things that I was taking was one of those things that actually could cause premature contractions. And I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Did I kill my child? Should I explain this to people? What in the world am I going to do? And, maybe I didn't. Maybe all along, the baby was dead and I just was, waiting to go through the mystery. All kind of thoughts were going through my mind. But my faith was hit yet again, because of what I was believing for and what actually happened. And I felt like I was in this downward spiral of putting my mouth on it and my heart and my spirit on something, having an expectation, and then it possibly not coming to pass. And there were a bunch of other things. I'm not going to tell you all of my dirty laundry, but, there was some shit that hit the fan with my spouse. There was some things going on with my kids. Everything has been fine. I've still been staying profitable during COVID, but did start losing a little clientele. Just so much stuff happening at once. And I was like, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't be thinking that I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking that I'm not the powerhouse. Maybe I should be thinking that I need to elevate. And so it didn't take me very long. And I said, you know what, even though I don't feel like it, even though it doesn't feel good, even though it doesn't make sense, how do I become a better version of myself in the midst of this? This is what this stuff is supposed to mean. Everything's working for my good, right? Just being in tears and saying to myself, everything's working for my good, right? Everything's working for my good, right? Everything is working. How is this working for my fucking good? I'm literally going through all of these different thoughts and sitting there saying to myself, oh my God, my event is coming at the end of September. Am I qualified? And is my spirit right to lead these ladies? And so all of the things that I had been studying for months, I decided to go in deeper. And so I have been almost a little bit of a hermit. I would pop out just to teach in social media so I wouldn't, quote unquote, totally be forgotten. Haven't done a podcast episode. I guess it's been about a solid month, maybe even longer now. But I decided to dig in. And in my subconscious, I was digging in because I know the truth. And I've always said that, I don't know what day I'm going to die, but I'm going to live every day like it's my last. People talk about dying empty. Well, I don't know what day I'm going to die, so I'm going to empty myself every damn day. And that's why I show up so voraciously in the circles that I'm at, because I don't want to ever take an opportunity for granted. A live video is not just me showing up just for the fuck of it. This podcast is not me just showing up just to be doing something. Being a featured speaker in someone's summit or their online TV show or something, it isn't just an opportunity for me to get exposure. It's an opportunity for me to walk out my purpose, to influence people to be a better version of themselves. So I leaned in harder on the tapping. I leaned in harder on the psychology. I leaned in harder on, mastering my skill as a trader. Look, I probably have been in school, like old school, when you go to middle school, high school, you go from like 8 to 2 o'clock. I've been putting in anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day of nothing but work on myself. Like hardcore, meditating, praying, reading, studying, reflecting, not knowing exactly what would happen, and having little fragments of thoughts come to me about what my next move should be. And that was pissing me off, you guys. It was, because you all know how I am. I'll come out here and be like, hey, I got a great idea. And those of you that are close to me, I will go from idea to process in literally 5 minutes. I've had girlfriends, I'll be like, oh my God, let's hop on a Zoom. I had this crazy thought, this crazy idea. We hop on a Zoom. I talk to them for like 30 minutes. I go crazy. Then they just turn around and next week it's like this major launch and we're just moving forward. But I was having these snippets of thoughts. And I'm like, why is my brain in such a funk? Why is it nothing clear? And I finally had to realize, stop trying to figure it out while you're working on yourself, August. Just be still. Just be quiet. And that's what I did. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh my God, I've got all these major things coming up that I'm participating in. And my mind, it just isn't right for it. But it's amazing how God planted seeds and opportunity in my life prior to me crashing spiritually. And so when the time came around, I began to engage those individuals are the ones who gave me life. Sitting and having conversations and masterminds with people who have pivoted and changed. Talking to my entrepreneurial buddies online and getting excited, about the possibilities of what they're doing with their own business. And then finally, out of nowhere, I went from just pulling myself together to serve my clientele to saying, guess what, y'all? I'm back. And you guys know that I've always been about that 1,000%. People make fun of me because I always say 1,000%. Well, guess what? 1,000%. It isn't good enough anymore. Because COVID, this whole thing, it's not letting up. And if you're not paying attention and you're not giving everything you have with every breath you have to give every single day to be the best version of yourself and make the mark and leave the impact that you're supposed to, shame on you. Shame on you. So I lost a lot. A lot of things died. Even the old version of August died. You'll hear it in my tone. You'll see it in my voice. You'll see it in my values. You'll see it in the change of my business structure, but a new me has risen. I've evolved. This whole thing is about evolution. Some of you are revolving. You're just going in a big ass circle, doing the same shit over and over again. And we know what insanity is. But no, I've evolved. So I lost a great friend. And instead of thinking about all that she didn't accomplish and how I felt like she was cheated and I wanted to, have a punching match with God, I had to think about all the beautiful things that she did. And I didn't know everything she did. So God knows the level of impact that she's made before she met me, during the times when she wasn't around me. And I had to be excited and just say, you know what? With every fiber of my being, I'm going to show up. I lost that baby, but I had to go back and reflect. There were several videos where I said, you know what? Finding out that I was pregnant, it was never about the birth of that baby. It was about the birth of a new version of me. I literally said that in one of my videos. I had to go back and listen to some of the things that I said because I also was dealing with some spiritual issues, because there's some things that I know that I'm meant to do. In the church community's like, yay, she's stepping up. Look, y'all, I ain't here to be no traditional minister. Y'all already know how I feel about how backwards y'all think and how y'all ain't really doing what you're supposed to be doing. And won't even go on that side rant, but even feeling quote unquote worthy in that space. So, that's what life dealt me. And 2020 just made me feel like after everything that happened and how I still kept showing up, still kept on shining, still hosting online events, still moving and shaking, stepping forward, I feel like 2020 was an abusive spouse that grabbed me and slapped me in the face and said, I got you, bitch. And I said, oh, okay. Okay. No, you don't. And I sucker punched it back. So don't allow whatever it is that you're going through right now. It's not your defeat. It's preparation for the final round. Going out of 2020 and into 2021 is going to take everything you got and a greater version of yourself. So whatever adversity you're experiencing right now, ask yourself one question. What is this trying to teach me? What is this trying to teach me? So I love you guys. Real Women Don't Bitch, We Get Shit Done is officially back. I love you all. Thank you for your patience. Deuces.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar.